Downfall is definitely one of, if not the, best mods out there for Slay the Spire. This community project is basically a huge expansion where you play as one of the vanilla game's act bosses, and descend down the spire, fighting one of the vanilla's playable characters as a boss at the end of each act. I made a long overview of this entire mod a long time ago, but since then, a lot has been changed. Every class has gotten a substantial rework, several events and relics were added, and most importantly, every single boss fight has been completely revamped. Knowing what boss you're about to fight and what they do is an extremely important part of Slay the Spire, so you know what kind of cards you can pick to counter or not be countered by the upcoming challenge. All 4 characters have a chance to spawn in each act as a boss, and has a completely different set of cards, relics, and playstyles depending on which act they show up in. The first iteration of Ironclad focuses on status cards. He'll create a bunch of statuses with the flawed curse that transforms all his cards in his hand into statuses, and then attacks like Reckless Charge and Wild Strike. His passive makes it so every status that he creates also puts a duplicate into your discard pile, so if you let this fight go on for too long, your deck will just be full of statuses. He also has a bunch of ways to exhaust his own statuses, and a Feel No Pain to get a lot of block when he does so. Act 1 Silent is all about shivs. She has several of her own shiv cards, but her Bag of Knives passives will give her a shiv whenever you play a 0-cost card. She also has a Shuriken, so if your deck is full of 0-cost cards and you let her play 3 shivs per turn, she will eventually scale her strength out of control. Act 1 Defect starts with a Fossilized Helix and a Buffer card, and also has a bunch of simple damaging cards like Sunder and Core Surge. He has the Aged Curse and Turbo that adds voids to his deck, but his Energy Thief passive makes it so all of his voids actually get added into your deck instead, eating up your energy if the fight goes on for too long. The Watcher in Act 1 will start the combat with a Sands of Time that she'll retain for a few turns, losing its energy cost. She will wait until turn 4 to throw this at you, and she'll also enter Wrath form if she's below half health, increasing her damage dealt and taken by 50%. So you either want to try and kill her before turn 4, or keep her above half health so that Sands of Time and whatever else she throws at you isn't gonna kill you. The Act 2 Ironclad fight is where things start getting interesting. He has a special card in his deck that summons 2 Mushroom Companions. His Feeding Frenzy passive lets Reaper damage his own mushrooms, effectively healing him a lot more, and whenever he kills one of his own mushrooms, he gains 1 strength. If he draws that mushroom card again and he plays it while the mushrooms are still alive, he'll consume those mushrooms and heal their HP. AoE and focusing down the right thing at the right time is really important in this fight to not let the Ironclad heal and also scale out of control. Act 2 Silent focuses on getting a bunch of energy, then playing a bunch of cards with an after image gaining block for each one. Her Seeing Double passive makes her spawn a mirror image of herself every turn. Hitting one of those will reveal which one is real. It's a 50-50 chance, but if you have any AoE attacks, it will go a long way in saving you time and figuring out which one is fake. The Defect in Act 2 will start with 2 Bronze Orb minions that will steal your rarest cards, similar to the orbs in the vanilla Bronze Automaton fight. His Ancient Construct passive also makes him gain an artifact every turn if he does not already have one. He has a kunai and a deck full of claws and other low-cost attacks. Act 2's Watcher will play a bunch of defensive cards for the first few turns, and then use Blasphemy to enter Divinity on the 5th turn, using Intangible from Incense Burner to survive the death, dealing massive damage with her attacks while she's in that form. Her Blasphemer's Demise passive makes it so they'll lose 4 strength the next time they enter Divinity or use Ragnarok if you've dealt a total of 150 damage. So if you are able to reach that threshold before she draws those cards, you will have much less to worry about. Act 3 Ironclad is all about block. He starts with Barricade and has a Fortification ally that helps him get massive amounts of block. On his first turn, he'll play a Feel No Pain, Impervious and Intimidation to get a ton of block and weaken you. On his second turn, he'll play Flame Barrier for even more block and some thorns, then a Body Slam to whack you for a ton of damage. This Body Slam is his main way of dealing damage. He'll continuously redraw it, so in this fight, offense is the best defense, since you need to be able to break his block before he Body Slams. If you kill his Fortification minion, you not only get rid of a source of block, but you also remove his Barricade. Act 3 Silent is all about poison. She starts the fight with noxious fumes, deadly poison, and crippling cloud. These paired with Snecko Skull and Twisted Funnel can apply up to 17 poison on turn 1. This poison can stack to insane levels. The highly toxic passive gives you poison resistance during this fight, slightly changing the mechanics that you're used to. Poison will now trigger at the end of your turn rather than at the start, and whenever you end your turn with leftover energy, you automatically spend it all to lose 10 poison stacks per energy. This fight can scale out of hand, so you really have to carefully save your energy to remove poisons while you can before she plays Catalyst on turn 4, effectively digging your grave. The defect in Act 3 channels a lot of orbs starting with a rainbow and then will evoke them in his next turns. His unbiased cognition passive makes him gain 1 focus for every time you play a rare card. That focus scaling and then the dark orbs that he plays can make this fight really scary if it goes on for too long. Act 3 Watcher gains 1 mantra every time you play a card, but loses 5 at the start of her turn. You'll be punished for playing a deck that plays more than 5 cards per turn, so when she reaches 10 mantra, she'll be in Divinity Stance for the rest of combat, dealing triple damage. This downfall mod also changes up Act 4. It's a similar style with a lesser kind of elite fight and then a big endgame boss for you to fight, in the form of the Merchant and then Niao. The Merchant is the elite that you battle in Act 4 and that is resurrected from the previous times that you fought him. He has strength and dexterity equal to how many times he's stolen from you during this run, and he will play a deck full of colorless cards, most notably the Bomb and Apotheosis. Niao is the final boss of Act 4. Before you fight him, you have to fight the original 3 resurrected bosses that you fought this run in a back-to-back gauntlet. Once you beat those, Niao now has 600 HP and a bunch of passives based on the bosses that you fought each act. He always has the God of Life passive that heals 2 HP every time you play a card, and the Invincible passive that makes him only able to lose 300 HP per turn. Some of the passives based on the bosses that you fought do things like gaining 2 artifact if he doesn't have any, gaining 2 strength every time you play a rare card, shuffling statuses into your discard pile every turn, and similar stuff to what the previous bosses did like that. He starts the fight putting 4 special curses into your deck, then he cycles between heavy multi and single target attacks, and then buffing himself with a bunch of strength. This fight is supposed to be on par with Vanilla's Act 4 Heart fight, and is the final, most challenging fight for this mod. And that was a guide to all of the Act bosses that are in this Downfall expansion mod for Slay the Spire. I said it before and I'll say it again, this is one of my favorite mods, if not definitely my favorite. It just goes to show you the power of when a community can come together and just make a bunch of really good content for a game that has mod support. If you think that Downfall is the only really good expansion style mod, you are wrong, because there are actually quite a few that I've made videos on in the past. 2 of my other favorites are the Hollow Knight revamp mod, and also the Library of Ruina mods that when put together just completely change Slay the Spire to not even be recognizable anymore. So if you're interested in those mods, definitely check those out. I would recommend them if you're into Downfall. And also before I go, let me thank my members for supporting the channel, Mr. Fatcat and Gunnar Granzin. And thank you everybody for watching, it means a lot.